Hi everybody! So this is my first unboxing. Even though it's really technically not a traditional unboxing, there's so many channels that I feel do unboxings so well. And I will do them as I explore working with my own channel. I mean, I definitely want to do some unboxings, but I just feel like there are people out there who probably do them so much better. I'd like to do readings and kind of talk about archetypes and shadow work and all that kind of stuff on my channel. But this is my very first foray into opening up a deck. Now, I know this deck has been around for a while. This is the Dreams of Gaia. But let me tell you something. In the current climate right now with the coronavirus and being quarantined and what we're going through, I was very drawn to this deck. It wasn't on the top of my list, you know, of my tarot list of things I wanted to acquire. But when this whole thing got intense, I started really thinking about just what an interesting, surreal experience it was. And I started to get very tuned in to earth energy, to Mother Earth. When I would meditate, I was getting a lot of, I just felt very grounded in a weird kind of way. And especially on days where I would feel energy from other people filled with anxiety, because I tend to be very empathic and I pick up on other people's energies. And I used to absorb them like a sponge, but I've gotten much better at knowing how to benefit from being empathic and not harming myself. And that's a lifelong learning curve. But I was very drawn to this because I was amazed at how nature was regenerating and healing herself, and it really felt like Mother Earth was like telling us that she needed a break. And that's kind of one of the perks, you know, of having this crisis happen. I feel as if, like, I live in Los Angeles, so one of the first things that all of us Angelinos noticed when we went outside was there was no smog. The smog had completely cleared up. And granted, we did have a lot of rain this spring so far, but nevertheless, it's never been like this. I mean, you can see the mountains now crystal clear. You can see all the way to the ocean. You can see downtown. I have a roof where I have a patio, and I can see all over 360 around me. And Los Angeles is very spread out, so just a lot of just felt a real draw to a deck that had to do with earth, with the earth. And then, you know, I love this image. Obviously there were some images of the cards that really caught my eye. So anyway, so I ordered it, and I initially started shooting, and I went from the very beginning, you know, unwrapping it and cutting off the cellophane and the whole thing. But when I opened the deck, you know, the deck is quite complex. So I really felt like we didn't need to discuss all of that stuff. I would rather delve into how this deck is unusual and not like a traditional tarot deck. It doesn't follow Rider-Waite-Smith per se. It doesn't follow Marseille. It doesn't follow any of what we know archetypally about tarot. It's its own deck and its own system. So just, you know, quickly, like, I can tell you the box, you know, that's a nice box. It's from Blue Angel Publishing. My impression of the box is that, you know, it's going to be nice on the shelf. The inside is okay. You know, the book fits nicely, and this was nice for the cards. The cards didn't move around or slide underneath like some of the other boxes have these holes all the way through. But I'll probably remove this inner thing and put the cards in a nice velvet bag and then and then keep the bag and the book in the box, because the box is handsome. I will say that. I do like the box. Okay, so another first impression is the book is pretty fabulous. The book is very comprehensive. And I'm one of those readers that I really like books. I love the accompanying book. I really get disappointed if I order, like, let's say an indie deck that I really am impressed with, and it comes in a tuck box with a little white book that's, you know, sort of flimsy. Because one of the things that I love about tarot and oracle decks, and why I think I have become a tarot enthusiast, is I love to see each individual creator's interpretation, and you know, what inspired. I like to read about what inspired them, and what they believe the cards mean to them. It doesn't ever interfere with my intuitive guidance when I do a reading, because there's so many elements when I do a reading that are in play. And a lot of it is who I'm reading for, whether it's a collective energy or an individual person. You know, they're the primary vibe that I'm tuning into, and the cards are just catalysts that help me to unlock my interpretation and my creativity. When I read for myself, I've had to practice reading for myself, to be honest, because there have been times where I've really felt like I couldn't read for myself, and I would get very, very frustrated. But over the last year or so, I would say that I started practicing reading for myself every day, and I included it in my meditation practice that I have every day. And every morning I do a spread, and sometimes if I have time at night, I'll do a spread as well, but mostly it's in the morning. And I've gotten better at being able to be objective and have my mind be clear enough to get the messages for myself. Although I still would have to say I read better for others than I do for myself. So anyway, so I love books, because the books, and especially a deck like this, you know, you have to study it. You have to study her methodology. What is this creator, Ravynne Phelan, all about? You know, why did she want to create this deck? I love what the back says on this book: to seek, to feel, to grow, to heal. And I love that image. So anyway, the book is great. It's chunky. It's got lots of information. It doesn't have color photos, but that doesn't bother me, because, like I said, you know, as long as it's comprehensive, it satisfies my geeky nature. So I'm happy with the book, and I say the book is totally worth it. Now, cardstock, just really quickly. I was really disappointed with the cardstock. It's very flimsy, and it's also super shiny, which I don't care for. I personally love matte finish. I like thicker cards, and I even like linen. But you know, there are cards, like, for instance, the True Black Tarot is like a soul deck for me. Some people don't like that deck because they think the cards are too thick. I personally love them because I don't have to rifle shuffle. I do with some decks, but I don't know, my shuffling is like, I don't have like one secret special method of shuffling. It kind of changes from deck to deck, and it all depends on the cardstock, because being a Taurus, I like to keep my things nice. I've always been like that since I was a kid. I've always had to have, you know, all my things kept lusciously displayed and in top quality, and you know, that's just a little quirk of mine. So if I like, for instance, this deck, because the cardstock is so flimsy, I probably won't rifle shuffle this deck, just because I have a feeling it'll bend up pretty quickly, and it'll look too worn. So anyway, yeah, not happy with that. And the shiny thing, I don't mind a little gloss, but this is super shiny. In fact, as you can tell, I'm having a lot of problems I think I'm going to have a little bit of it. It's going to be tricky showing you close up some of these cards. I've been sitting here trying to light this as best I can, but no matter what I do, it's just the shininess is just catching every little glimmer of light here. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. But anyway, I decided to start this off as an introduction to this deck rather than the traditional unboxing by kind of separating all the cards already, because Ravynne speaks very specifically about in the book about how this deck is unlike a traditional tarot deck. And she goes through the major arcana and she explains that the major arcana is separated into stages. So let's just go into the book and let me explain a little bit from her words what this means. So she's got, you know, obviously she does have a major and a minor arcana. The suits of the minor arcana are what we are familiar with: earth, air, fire, and water. They're in a different order. So earth is the first suit, air is the second, fire, and then water. But here's a little bit of, in the introduction, of what Ravynne says. So she says, the Dreams of Gaia Tarot is for those who desire unity within themselves, their relationships, and with heaven and earth. It is for those who wish to explore and develop a keener understanding of self, as well as those who seek to commune with the spirit realms and the divine. The philosophy of the cards is simple: to seek, to feel, to grow, and to heal. So how she breaks this down: seek is revealing answers to the questions within. Feel is delving into the watery realms of emotion to begin to understand why you feel and react as you do. Grow is showing that you're in a constant cyclical state of growth and change. And healing, there are experiences in your past that can do harm in your present because you have bound to them by holding on to the emotions and the beliefs they have fostered. So she says that Dreams of Gaia Tarot will help you to rediscover your ancient and eternal connection with Gaia and the Great Spirit. Regular use of the deck will bring insight and understanding. This life is your journey of undoing, being, and becoming. Choose your path with the knowledge that all that manifests in your present is born of choices made in the past, and all that manifests in your future is born of choices made in the present. In this way, you will create a present, a future, in harmony with your dreams and heart's desire. So clearly, the theme of time is a theme with this deck, and the cycle of life. So that makes complete sense. It's, you know, the cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth. She says that when you get started, there are two important things that you should do. One of them, I don't have to tell you guys because we all do it: connect to your cards, however that resonates for you. Could be saging them and charging them with a crystal, or some people just sit with them and look at them and really analyze the pictures and let that go into their unconscious. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing she says is to be mindful of the fact that this is not a traditional tarot deck. Be mindful of the fact that it's not a traditional tarot deck, and that it doesn't adhere to a path created by existing tarots, but instead creates its own. So she says you need to get very familiar and learn the meanings of each card. And once you've become familiar with them, then you'll be able to rely less on the book and more on your intuition. Then she goes into other things here in the beginning about the, different things you do. Like you can keep a tarot journal, use tarot as a mirror. We all know these things, do shadow work with them. I think these cards would be excellent for meditating with and almost scrying with, because they are, as I said, really they're really filled with some symbolism. Some of them are very busy. And I know some people don't like that. Like I said, I saw a few, I didn't look through the whole thing when I ordered it. It was a very instinctive purchase. And like I said, it was coming out of what we've been experiencing with this pandemic. But some of the imagery really spoke to me, especially some of the images where people are kind of in a meditative state, and I'll show you all those. We're going to go through all the cards here, but so here's how the major arcana is broken down. So we start here with this little section here. So this represents the stages of life. And we start, let me do it this way. We start first with the choice card. She says that this is the most important card in the deck because it's the very premise of the entire Gaia Tarot deck, Dreams of Gaia Tarot, because it comes to making a choice. All that we are and all that we become is governed by the choices that we and those around us make, and how they in turn create and influence our reality. So this is your jumping off point, okay? And then this first grouping, we go from the choice to the child. It's going to be hard to see. I'm trying to find something when it's not reflecting. My goodness. All right, well, bear with me, guys. I'm going to have to find a solution in case I do another one of these with another shiny deck, but this is the child card. And then we go to the maiden. And then we go to the youth. The mother. The mother is very similar in my eyes to the Empress. Even the way she's sitting. And the father. The crone. There's also a lot of triple goddess energy in this deck as well. The sage. And death. And literally on her death card, it says rebirth. This is a really cool card. Look at that with the baby and then the snake wrapped around the fetus. It's a very interesting interpretation of death. I'm stressing out because you guys, I can't get it to close up where you guys can really see it well. A cinematographer I am not. I'm not good at lighting, but so that's one stage of the major arcana. That's the first stage, okay? Second stage. This stage is called the reason for being. And the first card is knowledge. So there are 8 reasons for being: knowledge, wisdom, healing, love, and union, self, abundance, and destiny. And this is where we are all seeking, feeling, and growing and healing. Our primary reason for being is to experience life, both the good and the bad. This is wisdom, which is very much a hermit. It's actually a really cool hermit card, I have to say. Healing. This is very reminiscent of the Temperance card in a traditional tarot. Even though the order is completely different, but I'm seeing, you know, some of the similarities. This is the Love card. Oh, there we go. The Love card. I just have to tilt the cards the right direction. Oh my goodness. What a mess. All right. Union. This is one of those intense cards filled with symbolism. It's funny because some of them, it's almost like there's, I wouldn't say it's stylistically they're different from each other as if there were different artists, but it definitely, some of the cards have a completely different energy in the way that the art comes off the card than others. This is one of the ones I like. I really loved these. I think this is, I think I was just really drawn to some of these images of people meditating because, I don't know, it just gave me such a peaceful feeling when I was looking at the images online before I ordered it. And that's the mood I've been in. You know, I've been very much wanting to meditate a lot. I've been just, it makes me feel very cozy, and I've been getting a lot of downloads lately too from Spirit. So abundance. Abundance. I love how the dragon is looking at the little baby. I guess they're little, they're not, they can't be birds. They have to be the little baby dragons in the nest, in her what she's holding in her hand. And then we go to Destiny. This is a very interesting card too. Destiny. And the Journey. Oh, that's a little bit better. The Journey. Okay, so that's stage 2 of the major arcana. Then we move on to stage 3, which Ravynne has titled The Influences. So while it's true that the events we are experiencing now and our reasons for being can and do influence our ability to see opportunities and make choices, there's another 8 key elements that play a defining role in influencing us for better or for worse. These are journey, our life experiences to this moment. And they consist of thought, emotions, desire, perception, intuition, integrity, and faith. Some of the images, and you'll have to comment and let me know if you agree with me. Some of them I am going to have to contemplate a little bit, reflect on and meditate with because I don't get some of the imagery right away just from looking at the card. Like for instance with this one. But what I find really fascinating are the masks. It looks like the dramedy the comedy and drama masks. But here's the other thing. She uses masks a lot in this deck as an artist. Her artwork has a lot of masks or very placid, almost non-human faces, you know, and I'm curious to delve into the meanings of these cards in her book to find out what that symbolizes, because I have a feeling that it's a very important meaning. This is the Journey card. Wait a minute. I'm doing the same. I'm sorry. I went back to the... Silly me. I went back. I knew I was doing something wrong. I went back to the wrong thing. Okay. After thought, we have emotion. Here we are. We're back on track. Sorry about that, guys. This card is hard to see because it's an angel, and she's got this bright, burning sun behind her. Desire. This card is supposed to be what we would consider the devil in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, but I'm really curious about this card, and this is one of those ones that like I mentioned before, that I'd want to meditate on, because I'm trying to figure out where that archetype is in this card. Like I said, you know, I want to get into really studying the book and finding out. Perception. Now, see, now this one to me jumps out and speaks to me. Because with perception, I love that she's got this mask on of eagle eyes. Because eagles see clearly. And swords... Especially like when I do a reading and I get the Ace of Swords, I always think of slicing through to the truth, like no bullshit, you know, straight to the truth, clarity. So there's a lot of symbology in this card that does that for me right off the bat. Intuition. Integrity. It's interesting because this is the first nude of the deck, and I'm wondering if what she's showing here in this card is the fact that this woman is completely unabashed, sitting confidently. I mean, if you look at her body posture, you know, she's not shy at all. She's not self-conscious. She's just completely at ease with herself, which I think is an interesting way of interpreting integrity, because I do think that when you have integrity, you are living your truth, you know. And then we've got faith. I love all the animals in this card. And you know, I think that what would be really cool with this deck would be to have a oracle deck that had spirit animals, spirit guide animal deck, or I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head. I mean, I know there's some out there. I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but there's a lot of animal oracles out there. And I think a deck like that paired with this would be really cool. I tend to love to pair an oracle with a tarot when I read. I didn't used to, but I started, you know, my love for tarot was first, but then I started falling in love with the interpretation that people were having with oracle decks. And then because all decks to me have a personality, they're like people. And once you start using them, you know, they become like friends. And it's like some friends that get along better with other friends. And that's kind of how I don't know, my decks sort of have a persona in a way. And it's like, for instance, I, not too long ago, got the indie deck of the Dreamkeeper's Tarot, which is a fabulous deck. I love the artwork. I love the book. I love everything about it. And I just so happened to find and stumble across the Divine Muses Tarot. Oracle. And so I ordered them around the same time, and they were delivered on the same day together, which also was just kind of like, had to be kismet, right? That they were delivered on the same day. So I started working with both of them on the same day, and they're just a great pairing. Whenever I use the Dream Keeper now, I feel like the Divine Muse just goes really well as an accompaniment to that deck. All right, let's get into the minors. So we start with Earth, one of Earth. I'm going to try to go a little quicker if I can angle these cards so that you can see better. Here's 2. 3. We've got a lot of, you know, wood nymphs and dryads and all sorts of woodland creatures in this suit. Centaurs and again, there's nothing, you know, necessarily jumping off the card that will, if you are a big Rider-Waite-Smith reader, that will ring true necessarily when you look at these suits. But again, getting into the book, I think there'll be a big difference. And I'm gonna just show you, once I get through this, I want to show you something about how she describes it. This is a very cool card. See, these were the ones that like really drew me in to order this deck. I mean, no one really has, well, no, I shouldn't say that. There's like the Celtic Tarot and other tarot decks that have similar imagery, but you see how some of the depictions are very realistic, you know, but then again, you see there's masks and everything here. She's holding a mask. And then there are others that are very supernatural beings. Getting into, she calls this the sensual. So this would be like the equivalent of the night, the sensual. I'm gonna have to find out what that means because I don't know. Queen of Earth. That's a very cool card. And so is the King. He's like the green man. Okay. So that's the Earth. Now going into, oops, wait, nope. Going into the air, suit of air. There's also a lot of dragons in this deck. This is very interesting. You know, the two of swords and the whole idea of a 2 with balance and duality. You know, we've got the dark and the light, and he's holding scales. Three. Four. Again, like you see, it's like some are very earthy and some are very otherworldly. Angels, dragons, but also real people, and then all these masks. Masks everywhere. Eight of Swords. or 8 of air, I should say. What's that? It's definitely a lot to look at and reflect on with this deck. You are not being deprived of any kind of symbols or imagery. Queen, King. Sorry, I'm not trying to plow through this, but I do want to make sure that I get through the cards so that I can just have you see all of them a little bit more close up. I think I'm getting the hang of dealing with my lighting situation. I love this one. It's like he's in a phoenix costume. So interesting. This one's quite sexy. This one kind of took me off guard when I opened it up for the first time. But obviously it depicts the conflict of the 5 of what we would know as the 5 of Wands, but it's the 5 of Fire in this deck. Another mask. But I also love the color scheme. You know, she's really stayed, sorry, my finger's in the way. She's really stayed true to the colors of each suit. This is a very cool card. With all the chakras aligned and lit up and big and balanced. Very cool. Definitely she did capture an energy in each of the suits with each element. She really did with the artwork. I have to say, you do get that like fiery feeling and energy when you look at these cards. Even the expressions and the bone structure of the faces has an active energy to it, which is really cool. And then the last one, going with water. 2. This would be like your 2 of Cups. It almost looks like the Lovers. But then again, 2 of Cups is about love and that perfect union. So 3, 4, 5. That's an interesting one. 5 of Cups. She's underwater. And she's got that same physical posture that we know of the sorrow in 5 of Cups. But it's interesting. Interesting interpretation of that card. This was another one that I fell in love with when I saw the picture online. That drew me in. You know, it's funny because sometimes when I first opened the box and I was looking at all the cards before I decided to break them down before I wanted to film this, some like struck me as, I wasn't nuts about the artwork on some of them. I kind of thought they were a little cheesy, for lack of a better way to describe it. But now that I'm spending more time while I'm showing them to you, I'm kind of jiving with them even more. I think this is going to be one of those decks that's going to grow on me. And I got to say that even though I'm not nuts about the cardstock nor of the sheen of the cards, I will say that the book makes up for that. Had the book not been good, I think I would have returned them or traded them or something and not even bothered. But the book is making me very curious. Okay, and that was the King of Water. So we've got through all of them. I know that this is kind of becoming a very long unboxing, but I just want to touch on one other thing about how this is structured, which I think is really interesting. So if we go to the one of the cards in the Major Arcana, the way she gives you keywords, she gives you key phrases, then she breaks down the meaning, but she breaks down the meaning when the card appears in the past position, in the present position, or in the future position of a reading. And then all the cards also have a reversal, because she calls it potential blockage. So all of the Major Arcana have pretty much like four different expressions: past, present, future, and reversed. So that's pretty complex, you know, and that's why this is one of those decks that you're going to have to just play with and study and really, you know, practice on yourself, I think. And then in terms of the Minor Arcana, she doesn't do the past, present, future. She just does the meaning and the reversal, but she still gives keywords and key phrases. So for instance, Ace of Earth, her keywords here are new beginnings, goals, motivation, desire, preparations, opportunity, education, security, potential reward, potential consequences. And then key phrases: practicality and pragmatism, starting anew, material gain, reward versus consequence. So, you know, there's a lot of jumping off places for a psychological interpretation and an intuitive interpretation, which I think is really cool. Like I said, it appeals to my nerdy self. So there you have it, guys. This is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot by Ravynne Phelan and by Blue Angel Publishing. I hope that it was a little bit enjoyable despite my lighting issue. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.